And today is a monumental day. Today is a day that'll be chatted about forever in the annals of sports history. The greatest champion of all time, the greatest athlete of all time, the greatest winner of all time. The greatest football player of all time has officially retired. This is obviously something that the world had been anticipating over the last few days since old Shefty in Darlington kind of cucked Tom Brady out of his own retirement, is how a lot of people on the internet are taking this. But in an 8-page screenshot notes section announcement, Tom Brady thanked basically everybody in Tampa Bay. He thanked all of his teammates. He thanked all of his coaches and talked about he no longer wants to go all in on the competitive side of things. I think a big conversation about Tom Brady is he's the greatest competitor of all time because his competitive stamina has remained so high in a sport that is so grueling for so long. When he had accomplished everything you could have ever fathomed or wanted to accomplish long ago, he continued to play, reinvented himself in a new city, won a Super Bowl down there, started businesses, started opening up to people, and we all got a chance to see late in his career why the greatness from very early on in his career had happened and been able to happen for so damn long. His competitive stamina is something that will be chatted about by a lot of people, and he directly referred to in his retirement. Says he has a lot of other things he wants to go on to do, and there's still people holding out hope that this isn't a retirement, although he did say his days in the NFL are now behind him, and he said it's taken him a little bit to get to this point. But whenever you look at all of these stats and all of the ownership of records that this dude has in the biggest league, in the biggest time on the entire planet. 60 million people were watching the AFC Championship the other day at its peak.
Damn.
58 million people were watching the NFC Championship at its peak on Sunday night. The NFL is by far in its biggest boom of all time. And the records that are held by the quarterback position and basically all facets of success in the NFL are by one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady.
Oh, yeah.
Pick 199. A man who has transformed both on the field and off the field.
Oh, yeah.
Pliability must be a real good thing. But look at all of these records. Most pass yards ever. Most pass TDs ever. Most completions ever. Most playoff pass yards ever. Most playoff pass TDs ever. Most playoff completions ever. Most wins ever. Most playoff wins ever. Most Super Bowl wins ever. Most Super Bowl MVP ever. This guy has all of those records. Shout out to Stats Muse for bringing that one to the forefront of our Twitter account this morning. Shout out to Dirty for this incredible graphic. And shout out to that man for being a joy to watch compete over the last 2 decades. And although he was widely hated by everybody because everybody wished they had him as their quarterback and he was winning in a place in which there are a lot of asterisks next to it, and there's always going to be stories. New England, his career will never be duplicated again. And I just want to say thank you, Tom Brady.
Thank you, Tom!
Congrats on coming to that decision. I know it probably was not easy, especially for a man who is addicted to competition. He started 3 companies. He referenced that in his retirement letter through the notes section as well. Autograph, Brady brand, and TB12.
Yep.
Let's assume there's going to be more. This guy's going to go on to make billions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be a great businessman. He's got good people around him. He has so much experience and success, and everything he does, he talks about an all-in mentality. He doesn't want to do that for the NFL because he wants to address other things, his family, his wife, who he complimented immensely for holding everything together. And then let's assume the business is also going to be something this guy's going to dabble into, maybe ease those competitive nerves that he might get when he gets bored in retirement. So he's going to be a billionaire. And there's people already alluding to things that he's trying to get into ownership in places already. So we heard Peyton Manning's in 2 different investment groups that are trying to buy the Broncos. Tom Brady and Peyton are good friends. Peyton actually wrote a congratulations little quib talking about being friends and you're the best. Congratulations, pal. We've seen them working together. Tom Brady hears and sees everything Peyton's doing. He's on a hustle right now. Peyton is hustling right now. Omaha Productions, a lot of shows. He got his own whiskey. He was on Saturday Night Live. He's on Jimmy Fallon. He's out working right now. Peyton's working for some reason. He's on 2 different investment groups. I think these guys are legitimately trying to get to ownership of teams, which would be fucking awesome. So I would assume Tom's going to be in that front as well as we kind of watch this entire story unfold. Tom Brady this morning announces his retirement, says his NFL days are behind him. He no longer wants to be the all-in competitive competitor that he has been for all these 20-plus years of great success, both with the New England Patriots in the last year and a half, 2 years in Tampa Bay. Your thoughts on Tom Brady being the greatest competitor, greatest athlete, greatest football player, greatest champion of all time? And how long do you think he saw this coming? Do you think this was beginning of the season, middle of the season, a year ago? What? Just from your relationship with him, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Well, I think when he went to Tampa, he signed initially a 2-year contract. And I think his continuation of playing is all in. And so he doesn't start at the middle of the mountain to climb it. He starts at the base camp. And I don't know this for a fact, but I have a sense that he probably had a conversation with his family and said, look, I want to go 2 more years. And I've got to give myself up for 2 more years. And when Brady gives himself up, it doesn't start in July when camp. It starts in February when he comes back from the family vacation in Costa Rica. And then he starts this 12-hour-a-day journey into getting his body to where it is now, which is somewhat remarkable considering his age. I thought his movement this year was better than it ever been in his career. So the total commitment, I think, once he made that 2 years, I think that was always in the back of his mind. And certainly the disappointment of the year fueled the fire, but I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think this was all about, I said I was going to go for 2, 2's over, that's it, I'm done.
So whenever you think about Tom Brady as the competitor, and you just talked about him going 12 hours a day immediately upon returning from Costa Rica on the family vacation, in which we have seen photos in the past from. He apologized to Jason Light, the general manager, in the middle of him thanking him, saying, I know I was demanding at times. And then he told to Bruce Arians in his message, like, hey, I know I was demanding at times. That top level athlete, human, business person, whatever, that top level person is going to have strict accountability. They're going to have expectations. They have thoughts that they want to be heard. Has Tom always been like that? And do you think the relationship between he and Bill kind of got blown out of proportion whenever you talk about 2 guys who probably have a pretty similar mindset in things?
Yeah, they're both perfectionists. They strive for perfection, knowing that they can't ever get there, but they raise the level of everyone's play around them, and they demand it. And then they're the example that people follow. I mean, it's one thing to yell and say, hey, we got to get going, guys. We got to play better. We got to do more. We got to work harder. But when you're watching the guy who's a GOAT, who's done it time and time again, work harder than everybody, stay after practice to work on his quarterback drops that he's dropped 1,000 times a million times in his career, is somewhat important. And I think ultimately, when you see this, you know, that perfection that he wants it from coaches, he wants it from players, he wants it from the trainer, the guy who tapes his ankle. That's just part of his everyday life. And Belichick wants the same thing. So it was to me, it was the perfect relationship. I mean,
Tom Brady officially retiring. His NFL days are behind him. Your thoughts when you woke up and read that this morning? And do you think he hates Schefter and Darlington or no?
I don't know, because this didn't have like the crazy rollout like we thought. Like, didn't we think, like, have we seen a video yet from Tom, or is it just this 4-page Instagram post and then a follow-up to say, hey, sorry, New England, I love you guys too?
Yeah, what happened? Do you think he said, you know, people think we're going to do some big production? What if I just put a photo out there and just fucking, in my notes section, just screenshot it and put it out? Like, how does that happen? I wonder how that is. And that's awesome. It's Tom Brady. So, I mean, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's the greatest football player of all time. He's retiring, just saying a post, here we go. How you doing? Keep it moving. And now in an IG story, he is thanking the Patriots and Pat's Nation for the entire thing, even though he did that 2 years ago. I didn't expect this to be the way to go about doing things, but maybe this was the plan all along. Whenever I figure it out, I'm just going to tell people. What are you going to do? I'm just going to post it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Maybe.
If he's that married to the social media game, I fucking love him. And I'm very, very thankful, because we as social media people are very, very pumped that is how he chose to do that.
Well, and that would make sense if Lombardi said he's the most humble guy he's ever met in his life. But also, I can't imagine. He didn't anticipate it happening like this, and then he said, you know, he didn't want it to outweigh the games on this weekend. And at this point, it's just like, all right, I can't. They kind of forced me to this point. I can't just not say anything for a week now or whatever I have to do. I don't think this is how he planned on it.
A lot of people on the internet are saying that he was forced into kind of doing this earlier or unexpectedly. But then he has to understand also that if there's any word that he's definitely, like somebody's going to talk about that, he's Tom Brady in the world that we're in. And he acknowledged that on the Let's Go podcast. You know, we're in this information era where everybody wants to be first. You got to be first. You got to be first. And he acknowledged that that is the existence we're in. And people can act like it's not and wish that it isn't, but that is the reality of the situation in which we live. If somebody gets a piece of information, they most definitely want to have it be first, and they're paid for it to be first.
Yes.
The accumulation.
I think it's a shame. I think it sucks because who cares if it's first? Like, it's gonna boom, boom, boom. It's all like all of them are gonna have it. I understand how it works, but like I know you don't. I know I don't. But their bosses like do care who put it out first, I guess.
Well, and that's the interesting thing because the nature of Twitter, if you're the first one out on anything, you're better off. Like. You have to live on Twitter to be good at Twitter because you have to be in there before anybody else. You have to hit early. If you hit late, you're dead. Everybody else has already done it. So then whenever you add that with Scoop Game, where there's everybody else around it, I think that's just a natural recipe for nightmare situations to happen. But when you talk about personal relationships and what happens afterwards and plans, I'm happy we are not scoopers.
Yeah.
I'm happy we are not scoopers. Like very, very happy we are not in that game. That would be very difficult.
It's like that clip of, was it last week of Shefty when they cut from him on camera and he's like, "Oh, I'm on there doing live hit. I'll call you back soon," or something. Like he's on his phone or sending a voice memo back to somebody.
Yeah, and how about whenever Ian Rappaport goes, "Oh shit," in the middle of an interview. "Oh, I gotta go. I'm so sorry."
In the middle of Connor asking a question.
Yeah,
he ignored me. That was much, much different story.
Yeah, he actually went back to back on those days. On our show, he wasn't paying attention during a question. In the show the next day on sports radio.
Yeah, Eberflus got hired.
Yeah, oh shit, on FCC regulated. He said, no, I said, oh shoot. Whatever the case, Tom Brady retiring is big news. That's another team that needs a quarterback, maybe. That means that Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger probably going in together. So I don't know how Ben. Oh no, Ben.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
Well, that's Tom's weekend.
No, it's a Hall of Fame weekend.
Hey, shout out to Ben. Honestly, shout out to Ben on the football field. But that's Tom Brady's weekend. We all know. You spent a lot of time being a masshole, obviously with New England, teammates with Tom Brady. We've learned more and more about Tom these last couple years, and you've always spoke glowingly about him, and I believe he's done the same about you. What was your relationship like, and are you surprised at all that he's hanging it up on a Tuesday via social media post? I think we all kind of expected this day to be differently, but that's like the humility of Tom Brady is what some people are saying.
Yeah, Tom's such a great guy. I mean, everybody knows all the stuff that he's done on the field, his competitive nature, his, all that stuff. But he's just a great guy too. And, I think him being a 6th-round draft choice starting off and having to work his way to becoming who he is made him a very hardworking, humble guy. And that's never changed. I mean, he's as good now as he ever was. I can't say enough good stuff about the man. He's such a great worker. He's a great friend. A little surprised. I mean, obviously he can still play. I think he could play another year or two. But when your kids and your family get a little bit older and you want to spend a little more time, and the one thing about Tom, what does he have to prove? Absolutely nothing at this point. He holds damn near every record that there ever is and will be, and he probably will hold them for a very, very long time. So it's one of those things. I think it's probably a very tough decision, and you probably had to think about it for a long time because him, like some of us, he's played such a long time that, life without football is going to be substantially different, even though I'm sure he'll have a role in it some way, shape, or another. You look at a guy like Peyton, he was done playing, but you see his mug on TV as much now as you ever did when he was. Brady might be the same way. You never know.